Good afternoon, folks. Mechanic Dave here. Today I'm working on a 2007 Lexus IS 250 all-wheel drive. Swapping out an alternator. Just thought I'd cover a couple items that I found were a little troublesome, that might be a little difficult for the rest of you guys. So I haven't completely got the alternator out yet, but it is ready. Just to let you know, before you start, obviously, disconnect the battery, get the battery on charge. That way it's being charged while you're working on the removal of the alternator. List of sockets you'll need. You'll need a 10 mil, a 12 mil, and then the I believe it was a 15 mil you'll need also. The alternator is held on by two large bolts. Two of them are 12s, and on the back it's got a little bracket that veers off that is held on by a 12 millimeter nut. When you go to pull this alternator out, first thing you want to do is undo the drive belt. The tensioner is held on by a, let's see, there we are. 14 millimeter is the tensioner. Just go ahead and loosen the tensioner, remove the belt off the alternator. On the back side of the alternator, you're going to have a 10 millimeter nut that's connected to the wire here. Make sure you don't drop that nut. If it does, it's going to fall down in no man's land. I got it on the last couple threads, and then I assisted it with a magnet to prevent it from falling. Then it's got a little plug, right? Oh, gotta grab my light, sorry. Sorry, okay. There we go. There's the plug right there. All this is gonna take place parallel to the strut tower, so you're gonna be working down in that hole there to get to these plugs and stuff. So once you undo those, and there's a bolt at 12 o'clock that's gonna be residing. You see the stud right here, this bracketry right here. It's gonna reside off of that bracket there. Just pull the 12 millimeter bolt out of there that goes through the alternator here. There's a little wire harness, like a ground wire or a bracket. I don't know if you can see that bracket right there, that little metal tab moving. That is going to be bolted right off of here, off of this stud. So undo that, then this wire harness is free. And you know what? I took this harness is held on by 10 millimeter bolts, nuts, 1, 2, 3. Then I just went ahead and did the plugs, because you know what? I'm one of those guys that always screws out something extra, a sensor, so I really have to cover my ASS now. Once you get that out of the way, this little cover here has a little plastic nipple on it, and it's going to be on this stud that's in my hand. Let me see. So that's going to be right here, right on the front of the head. So undo the front of that, take that plastic nipple off, because you're going to want as much area in this area to be cleared so you can get the alternator through this really tiny space. So set that plastic aside. And once you get that plastic nipple off, you're going to have I'm going to put it back in so you can see it. Oh, come on. Let me set the camera down so I can get this stud in there so you can see it. Okay, so there's going to be a stud, an annoying little stud right there, sticking out. So the best way to get that out is if you have a set of sockets. Let me see, I got mine from Harbor Freight. They were Pittsburgh 7-piece impact star socket set. And the star socket that you're going to need is Echo 6. So there's that little guy. So it just slides right on, buzz it off. So then once you got that stud out of the way, little bitty stud, at which point you should be able to fish that alternator out. Obviously, I'll get it once I put the camera down. But on the back side of the alternator, right there, the point to it with this sucker, right there. There's a little tab that sticks out on the alternator. So once you get the two bolts off the alternator, the wire harness that screws on there, you're gonna have that rear tab, and it's gonna hang you up. So what I did was, I'm all about laying on the motor. So just climb up here. Oh, one thing's on the front, you'll remove this one pulley that's parallel right on the front. It hinders the removal of the alternator, so I just went ahead and removed that pulley. So when you're laying up here on the motor, just be careful you don't break any sensors or anything like that. So looking down from here, just slightly above, and this is a terrible thing, is I can't give you a good bird's eye view, but just know that there's a tab on the back of that alternator. See if I can remove that alternator and show you. I'm sorry, this is like one of those videos that are all shaky, like when they go to film Bigfoot. You know how they never have a good actual video of when they film Bigfoot? So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to set that there long enough for me to get this alternator out so you can see the tab I'm speaking about. Of course. Sorry. Maybe that'll be good view. Okay. So, and there's going to be a harness that connects to the fan that is going to be in your way. It's like everything, just like everything in life, right? Nothing ever goes as smooth as it should, and if it does, then you have to anticipate the worst coming later. It's like everything in life's got to fight you. Alright, I got that wire out of the way. I'm going to lift up on the harness. It's not a very... I don't know why they couldn't have cut a piece out of the firewall. Well, there you have it. Voila. Hopefully you got to see some of that. Anyways, this is the bottom side of the alternator. The alternator is going to sit just like that. So you'll remove these two 12s. Forgive me if I'm wrong on the size, and I think I am wrong on the size. Let me look. I am wrong on the size. I apologize. They are actually... see, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14s. They're 14s, two 14s. The 14 top goes there, then that one's gonna have its own little stud right, or a little piece that it'll connect to down there, right there. So I'll show you the inside just so you know. So that's the bracket that the front of the alternator is going to connect on. Then if you look to the back, there's a stud right there. And that's the stud that holds this, what is it? 12 millimeter nut that holds onto this stupid little bracket here. Sorry. More than likely this alternator's toast anyway. It had a ton of play on the front there. The bearing's probably gone out, as did the regulator, I'm assuming. I'll go take it down, see if it's salvageable. We got a local repair shop that builds electrical items in Dakota Battery and Electric. But other than that, if you guys have any questions, reverse order is the same. You're gonna go through the valley of hell, get it in at that angle, and just be careful. You got an AC line, electrical line right there you could hurt. The Freon lines, you might have to, I pushed this one off to the side as far as I could to get some clearance in and out. So, not bad job once you figure out that there's a back tab on here. That thing, screw that. They didn't make it too terrible, but they could have made it easier. So, hopefully this works out for you folks. Again, this was a 2007 Lexus IS 250 all-wheel drive. It seemed like a nice car. Anyhow, you guys have a good day. Take care.